mic on? Everyone can hear me? Good morning. Yes, Anil, it was a wonderful party last night, and some of us are still kind of really waking up. Before I start my presentation, I want to thank two people. One is Anil. Anil, thank you for having me over here and us over here. I know it was a very last minute thing, and you allowing us to share the same platform with the major stake players into this whole industry. It's really very heartening to know that an LCO is going to speak to you. I don't know how many times an LCO has spoken to an audience like this, but I thank you for the opportunity that you've given me and my federation. I'd like the other person I want to thank, or I really want to thank, is TRI, the regulatory authority of India, for aggressively pushing forward digitization. And this might come as a surprise to most of you. Why is an LCO saying this? Why does he want to thank TRI? But the fact of the matter is that for the last 10, 12 years, cable television in India was kind of stagnating. There was nothing new which was happening. And all of us, or most of the LCOs, and I'm going to change the terminology from LCO today with your permission. I would like all of you to look at us as last mile owners and LMOs. And once you start looking at us as last mile owners, you will understand where we come from. So in your perspective, if most of you start looking at your local cable operator as a last mile owner, I think we will have a very fruitful discussion later on, and the rollout of D.A.S will be much more smoother from now on. I'm going to speak to you about monetizing the pipe. Of course, everyone knows what the pipe is, and I have a small presentation over here. But before I get into the monetization part, I want you to look back at how this industry has, can we have it on the screen? How the industry has grown up. So looking back, the Indian electronic media has been built bottoms up. Cable television, when it started out in 1989, within a span of 2 years, cables were laid all over the country, which overtook the fixed line phones. I remember at that time we had something like 8 million fixed line telephones, the landlines, and within a 2-year period or 3-year period, cable TV went into almost 10 million homes. It was the cable homes which kind of caused or brought about the revolution for Doordarshan. If you remember, Doordarshan had only 2 channels, DD National and DD Local. And I remember, when even we were studying and we used to come back home, and in the evening, the only programs we would love to watch was the news. And there was a very popular program known as Chhayageet, thank you, and Rangoli. Chhayageet was in Maharashtra and all over the country, I believe. And Rangoli had a particular slot. And it's only with the explosion of cable television that Rangoli actually started making money. And that's the start of making money on a national free-to-air platform. In the 90s, even before any of the satellite channels had been conceived for an Indian audience, the cable television, the local cable operator had laid a runway or a platform for carrying about 60 channels. This might come as a surprise to you, but the RG59 that we used to use way back then had a capacity of carrying almost 60 channels. We were working in a bandwidth of 47 megahertz to 450 megahertz, and we could carry up to 60 channels. Well, the passage from that time, I'd like to take you back to the evolution how did the evolution start? And I have this small graph here, a chart over here, not a graph, it's a chart. Uh, if you look at the years and the progression of the cable TV homes and the kind of cables that we put, we have the trunk lines in the 90s, which were just RG59s. Our trunk lines, our drop lines, our last miles were RG59s. We were struggling to carry even up to 300 megahertz at that time. As 92 happened, 92 and onwards to 94, we started getting in the RG6 to be our trunk lines, and the drop lines were still RG59. We progressed from that, put in RG11s, changed over the last mile to RG6, progressed to series 500, changed it over, progressed over to fiber, and now we have almost fiber to every home. If not every home, we have fiber leading onto every building. This an LMO has done, has invested and reinvested over the years. If you just calculate the cost of doing this over and over again, at just a very, very economical figure of 10,000 rupees over these years, you can just calculate the amount of investment and the reinvestment that the cable TV operator or the last mile owner has done into his network. The figures are staggering, my dear friends. I don't even want to get into the kind of figures which are there. This he did without any bank support, without any IPO or without anything. And the upgradation that the cable operator kept on doing were absolutely seamless. I agree that there were disruptions. Wires used to get cut. There used to be times when unforeseen circumstances would disrupt the transmission or the relay for a couple of days, maybe a couple of hours, a couple of days. But the entire transition happened very seamlessly. And that's where the evolution of cable TV happened. And I'm proud to say today that most of the LMOs have fiber to almost every building. And we are very soon going to upgrade it and take it on to fiber to every home. So who is the LMO? I mean, I'm asking you to look at us with a different perspective. I'm going to slightly demystify the LMO, LCO nature. I mean, sometimes we are not looked upon as very enterprising people, but an LMO is one of the strongest entrepreneur, and he's an entrepreneur to the core. If you realize most of the countries, developing countries or the developed countries, they have entrepreneurs who have taken the country to higher goals. And the LMO is an entrepreneur to the core. He has been self-financed, self-learned. And I can tell you about myself on a personal note. I was studying to be a doctor in Bangalore. In Ramaya Medical College, most of my Bangalore friends know where that is. I met with an accident in '88 and went to the US for rehab. And sitting in the hospital, I looked at all the channels in the hospital room, and I said, hey, wouldn't that be a great business for me to get back home and start? Because I didn't think that I would be able to complete my medicine, which incidentally I still haven't. I came back in '89 and studied the entire business of cable television. Rogers was my module, my kind of module that I worked on, Rogers in Canada. And I also studied the Syracuse system. And we started business, I think within a year, in the '90s, I started my business. So we have been self-learned. Nobody taught us what has to be done. It was a trial and error method of learning. And we've come now to this stage. I can proudly say that even we do not have any SLA agreements with our customers, but for 20 years we've been servicing them, And in spite of what the DTH player might say about their premium services, DTH market has not been able to take into our subscriber base. And that can mean only one thing, that we have been good service providers and our service levels have been really very high. Having said this, I would like to tell all of you about our contribution, the LMO contribution to D.A.S. Might come as a surprise. My MSO friends, please don't get very angry at me. But 95% of the boxes seeded have been seeded by LMO teams. So, Parameshwaran sir, 95% of the 2 crore boxes have been seeded by the LMO teams. We picked up the boxes, we paid an X amount to the MSO, although it was subsidized, took the boxes, went and installed it at the customer premise, and then took our money. So if someone believes that we went to the customer, took the money first, then paid the MSO, that's a myth. We paid and we invested into the boxes upfront, and I agree it was a subsidized amount, and we thank the MSOs for that. The installations all were handled by semi-trained LMO teams, and whenever the digital upgrades were needed for carrying the digital signals, all the upgradation was done by us. 99% of the complaints in the past whole year after digitization are being serviced by the LMOs, because the LMOs do control 99% of the households. And there's going to be a slight distinction I want you guys to make on who is a consumer and who is a customer. I would like to say that today in India, the customer belongs to the LMO at the moment, and the consumer may be subscribing to different services from the different MSOs, but at the moment the customer is and solely is the property, or not the property, I would not say it's the property because the customer can be anybody's, but it's in the domain of the LMO. At 10 meters, just 10 meters into a subscriber home, the figure is there for you to see on the screen, is the kind of HFC network we have all over India. And this is at the disposal of the MSOs or the broadcasters or the ISPs. The figure is huge and staggering, my dear friends. This investment was done by the LMOs, and we are offering it to the MSO or the broadcaster or an ISP. Come and use our pipe. The pipe is there for you to use it. There's some home truths I'm going to go on and talk to you about. We are the roots. The LMO, the local cable operator, is the root. We want you guys to strengthen us so that when the difficult times come, we are able to come up and withhold the storm which might come in this kind of economy that we are facing and the challenges that we are facing. In the ecosystem, we wish that in the value chain, every element has to be taken care of, otherwise it would lead to disintegration. And I can always say that there is, with fair conviction, nothing beats a cable in service quality and convergent services capability. We talk about wireless, we talk about DTH, but everybody knows that the cable is definitely a strong contender to providing convergent services. Post D.A.S, yesterday we were patting ourselves on the back about the successful implementation of phase 1 and phase 2. Has it really happened? Yes, I would say digitization has happened, but as D.A.S perceived by TRI or by the government of India, has it really happened? According to me, we are getting there. It hasn't happened, it's a process. Somebody said yesterday, one of the MSOs, that it is a process. Yes, We do agree that it's a process, but till date, I don't think, if you have your ears to the ground, I don't think D.A.S has really happened. Uh, the benefits to the consumers is still not there. I used to read on the TRI website the reasons for bringing in D.A.S. And one of the reasons stated was that the consumer will have a choice to pick and choose the channels. I'm sorry, sir, but we don't even have that. We have not even put in the basic packages yet. The whole thing is a massive exercise, and the MSOs are working very hard to do that. But we have not been able to offer a la carte to our consumers. The bouquets have still not been in places. The packages have not been in places. So there is a lot that needs to be done. I'm sure it will be done with the MSO and the LMO and the broadcasters together, working out this whole thing of digitization and D.A.S. Different issues like ownership of the set-top boxes. Who owns the set-top box? When we went out to our customer and took that 600 rupees or 1,000 rupees, the customer, having faith in us, thought he was buying the box. In very small print on the consumer activation form or the consumer registration form, in writing which you could not even read, it says that the box still belongs to the MSO. We went, the customer had faith in us, did not even ask for a receipt, whether there was VAT paid, whether there was anything, whether there's a receipt, what is the AMC, whether he will get a replacement on it. He had faith in the LMO, just took the box and just put it. So there are issues about AMC, repair costs. 1 year without a la carte option has made an Indian consumer pay almost 200 crore rupees more. Those are the ones who would have preferred only FTA channels. Our friend from Orissa yesterday was talking about how he would want it to be only 99 rupees or 49 rupees. He's right. He's a hands-on person. He was speaking with absolutely great experience. And you would have realized that most of us LMOs, we did applaud him for that. That was yesterday. So there is about 30 to 40% of the segment who would want to watch only FTAs. And by not providing them that option, even after digitization and D.A.S, we have fleeced them for 200 crore of rupees. And that's just a guesstimate, sir. Cable content is costlier than DTH at the moment. We don't even know what the broadcasters are charging the MSOs. I read somewhere that it's going to be the broadcaster interconnect agreement with the MSO and the broadcaster a la carte pricing is going to be put on the TRI website. If you go on the TRI website, they are cash rates. So they are rates which are put on from 2007. And I agree, somebody was saying yesterday there's some case in the Supreme Court lying on the cap on the kind of channel charges there would be. We don't know, but we are still charging our customers. The MSO is charging us. So we need transparency. We really don't know what is happening. Things like transparency and under-declarations. One of the reasons why D.A.S was brought in. What about the extra TV set? Are we to pay the same entertainment tax on the extra TV set? I can tell you here with great conviction, as a cable operator, I discovered after digitization that I had 30% more connectivity. Because the second TV, the consumer in India is so smart, he would make a joint to the cable and take the cable into his second home, into his second TV. So I did not know also that I had 30% more connectivity. So when we talk about the under declaration by the cable operator, yes, sure, he did it. But to what extent is something which we'll have to really sit down and work out. Because the second TV set was never actually discovered by a cable operator. So are we to charge entertainment tax on the second TV the same as the first TV set? And if so, aren't we really in your own home charging too much tax? So taxation issues, in Maharashtra we are paying 45 rupees. 45 rupees a month for entertainment tax. Pardon me? Yes. If you have two TV sets, 90 rupees. I don't know if it's fair, but in this current economy. Anyway, moving on, we have a few daunting tasks ahead of us. The rollout of phase 3 and 4, there is minuscule MSO presence. So somebody from DEN yesterday said, we were successful in phase 1 and 2. We're sure we will be successful in phase 3 and 4. I want to know how. Do they have presence in phase 3 and phase 4? How many MSOs have their presence over there? Almost 8 crore set-top boxes to be seeded. If one technician puts in 8 boxes a day, you're talking about 8 crore man days. And here I would like to really thank the government of India, because if it's going to require 8 crore man days, that means we are going to be creating that many jobs. I put at it that we might need 100,000 jobs more just for phase 3 and phase 4, just to put in the STBs. And these are technical people, so I think the government has done a great job. It's going to create more employment, but it's not going to be an easy task. Selling content at a much higher rate until we come to know what the cost is, and it's going to be higher than the analog rate, and how do we compete then with DTH? So these are a few daunting tasks that we have ahead of us. As an LMO, I have certain dilemmas which I would like to state forward. We are in a serious problem of having major revenue losses. The past year has not been very easy. We've had to fill in somebody, I believe the Tata Sky person was talking about dabbe do, forms bharo. We have done 10 times. We are giving the boxes and trying to fill in the consumer application or consumer registration forms 5 times. The MSOs are doing their best, but I believe they were not geared for this whole thing. The strict deadlines imposed by TRAI, probably the MSOs were not geared for that. 5 times, 10 times we go to a consumer, get a form filled, give it to the MSO, ask them to activate the box. And that's not in our hand. And who loses? The customer. I lose a customer. I, as an LMO, who have nourished a customer for the last 23 years, have lost n number of customers in the past year. And they have not all gone to DTH. Some people are just fed up. They say, we don't want cable. And as an option, they have taken DTH. That's the reality. So that's a challenge. Customer retention is going to become a challenge. All the MSOs want a pie. They amongst themselves have not come up with a pricing policy, uniform pricing policy. So some of the MSOs give us softs, some of them give us some good ideas on how to under-declare, and that's going to happen. Customer retention is becoming a major problem for the LMO. What about customer care? Initially, or for so many years, the customer would call my office and I would send my technician and get the service, get his box repaired or get the service restored. Today, there's a call center set up by an MSO. Excellent thing the MSO has done. But time limit that the consumer takes to call the call center and the call center to revert us to the local LMO and for the local LMO to deploy. We are marginalized. The service that we were so confident about providing, unfortunately, is not happening. There is no settlement mechanism between an MSO and an LMO. We don't know, or rather, I would say, the MSO also does not know what kind of pricing he should put. And that's because the aggregators are giving everything in a bouquet. And I believe IndiaCast and MediaPro said yesterday that it's a good thing to give channels in a bouquet. But I would like to equate it, and I would pose a question to you. How many times would you like to have a buffet meal? I mean, if you want a buffet meal, there's 50 things over there. You still pick and choose. You still pick and choose only one or two. So I think a la carte is the way to go. I'm going to talk about the LMO wish list very quickly. We need end-to-end transparency, closer cooperation and consultation between MSOs and LMOs. We need an MSME status for the industry so that we could get financing. Next, please. The CVNO, the Cable Virtual Network Operations, we would like to be a counterpart of the MVNO for convergent services. The content could be global, national, local, so geno-localized content. The local and the global and national content, the MSO could provide us. The local and FTA content could be from the LMO end. There could be a vast basket national which the MSOs could give with small packets given to the LMOs in their local clusters. There could be a network of core servers that the MSO has at his end with edge servers coming for the LMOs. Quadruple pay is something which everyone is talking about, and domestic VoIP and cable telephony. So these are the things, these are our wish lists. Thank you, my friends, for hearing me out. Thank you very much. Come.